Hey guys, welcome back. Jordan here with the Nutty Gnome Homestead. It has been 12 days since we put our buckboard bacon into the cure. We have let this sit in the refrigerator for this entire time, turning these bags of bacon every day or every other day if life gets in the way. What this does is it keeps us from getting any dry spots on the meat itself and allows us to get a nice even cure all the way through. Now, as I said in the last video, you're going to want about 5 to 7 days of cure per inch of bacon. Most of this here is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, so we went 12 days, which is just about right for what we have here. Now, the bacon's cured, it's time to go ahead and process. We can go ahead and get this rinsed off. We're going to rinse off the residual cure, and we're going to let this sit out for about 3 hours to let it form a pedicle. That is a glaucous coating of proteins that forms this kind of white hue over the meat, and that's really going to allow our smoke to adhere to the meat very well. We're going to get this going. We're going to turn you guys around here. We're going to show you how we make this buckboard bacon today. Okay guys, so I've just got these tied up in a bag to make sure there's no leakage. These are our bags of bacon. You can see we got a little bit of moisture in there, but it's not terrible. Using this method, you don't have that much liquid drain out of these. Occasionally you'll get some, but it's really not too bad. Now we got our bacon here. We want to make sure we have everything prepared before we get started, because this can get a little messy. You see all this extra cure on here. We're going to rinse this off. We want to get all that extra salt off of there, all that extra pepper. We're going to rinse it off in a couple of buckets of water. I got a couple buckets, food grade buckets of cold water. And we're going to let these sit out to dry as soon as we're done. I may go ahead and add another layer of pepper to it for whenever I get them smoked, because who doesn't like peppered bacon? Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you guys this entire process. We're not going to add any of this out. I want to show you guys just how easy it is to make your own bacon. Go ahead and take it out of the bag. And we're going to put it in this water to rinse it off. Let me get you guys turned around here. Okay. You see, we're just going to get it in this cold water. We're going to get it rinsed off. And get all that extra cure off of there. Now, this is cold water. Ideally, you want to keep it nice and cold. I don't want to make it warm or anything like that. The meat's cold, the water's cold. We're going to let this sit out for a couple hours. It's going to come up to not quite room temperature in that amount of time. And then we're immediately going to throw it onto our smoker. So let's get this rinsed off here. Just massage it around. And you guys can see we're getting all that extra cure off of there. Now, there are many different ways of making bacon. This is just how we do it. Some people use nitrates, some people don't. That's really a personal preference. Some people use just all salt. You can use the EQ method. There are many different ways to do it. So find one that works out for you. I know this one works for us. We've been making our bacon this way for about a decade or so. A little longer, I guess. So just rinse it off. Your water's going to get this ashy gray color because you're rinsing all that extra cure and liquid and proteins and whatnot off of that meat. That's okay. I got a couple buckets here in case I need it, in case this one starts getting a little too dirty. You want to make sure you have everything prepared and ready to go. That's why I've got a spare. Okay, so that looks pretty good. You see, we got most of the cure off of there. Alright. We're going to drip this water off here, shake it off a little bit. And then we're immediately going to put it on a pan, and I'm going to get the rest of these guys rinsed off. Okay guys, so we got this bacon all rinsed off, and now we're ready to let it sit and form that protein layer on top. I like to go ahead at this time and add a little more flavoring. We prefer our peppered bacon with a lot of pepper. You can also at this time add a little more brown sugar, do a thin coat of honey, crushed red pepper, whatever you like at this time. With our black pepper, we usually put on a pretty heavy coat. So we're just going to go through here and we're going to sprinkle this with black pepper, because everybody knows the best part of peppered bacon is the pepper left over in the pan that you can make your gravy with from the drippings. Now we're just going to massage this in. Make sure you get it in everywhere. And this is already cured. Now if you guys don't have a smoker, you can go ahead and do this in your oven if you want. It's not going to have that same smoky flavor. You could also leave this raw, slice it up, and cook it that way whenever you're ready to use it. It's not going to have the same flavor and smokiness as the bacon after we get it in the smoker, but it'll still be perfectly fine to eat. So don't be discouraged if you don't have a smoker. Make sure you get it everywhere. And don't forget the ends. Now we started off with, I believe it was 31.5 pounds of pork shoulder. From that, after we trimmed it up, took the bone out, it was 28 pounds. Now we're going to lose a lot of weight in the cure because it's going to draw a lot of that moisture out. And we're also going to lose quite a bit after we put this in the smoker. So we'll probably end up with about 20, roughly 20 pounds of bacon finished, packaged up. Might be a little more. But I guarantee this is going to be a lot better than any of the bacon you get in the store. And you know and can pronounce everything that's in it. This is just a simple little project. How you guys can save money on your farm, homestead, or even if you live in the city. Making your own bacon, whether it's from pork bellies, pork shoulder, pork loin. It's the same process. And don't be discouraged, guys. If you don't have a smoker, like I said, you can make this in the oven. These are our last two. And as you guys can see, I have these set up on some drying racks, cooling racks. All that's going to do is that's going to allow some airflow underneath. It's going to let these dry properly. And they're going to form a real nice pedicle that's going to hold the smoke very well. Now, just to walk you through the process of what's going to happen from here, these are going to sit for about 2 to 3 hours. They're going to form that little coating. I'm going to have, during that time, I'm going to get my cherry wood today in some water. I'm going to get it soaking. And then we're going to let these sit in the smoker for about 45 minutes to an hour to dry out the rest of the way. We want to make sure that there is no moisture left on the outside of these pieces of meat before we add the smoke. Wet meat doesn't hold smoke very well. You'll get some flavor to it, but you're not going to get that beautiful mahogany color. Now this part is a little bit messy, but that's alright. Life's a little messy sometimes. So we're going to let these guys sit. And I'll bring you guys back when we're ready. Alright guys, welcome back. It's a little bit windy out here. I hope y'all can hear me just fine. But we come out here, we fired up our smoker. This is nothing fancy, just a propane smoker. If you got charcoal, use it. Smokehouse, you're lucky. I can't wait till I get mine built. But anyway, we're going to fire up our smoker, and we're going to get these pieces of meat in here, and we're going to let them start to dry for about an hour at somewhere around 100 to 120 degrees. We're not trying to cook it. All we're trying to do right now is to get it dry before we add the smoke. So I'm going to turn you guys around here, and we're going to get this going. Alright guys, so we just fired this up. We're going to pull this out, get some of our pieces of meat on here to get them going. This isn't rocket science, guys. If you do have a piece that has the fat still on it, you're going to want to orientate it up. That way, so as the fat melts, it drips down on top. Kind of baste everything. Kind of like this one here. There's 2, 4. And we may have to come out here and rearrange these guys a little bit later. But right now, just trying to get them in and get them dry. And there they go. Alright guys, it's been an hour, and as you can see, this is dried up pretty good. It's got this nice dry looking sheen to it. You can see it's kind of dried out here on the edges. That's what we are looking for. Like I said, we've been keeping this around 100 to 120 degrees. That's about as low as my smoker will go. And this does well. Takes about an hour, dries it out. Now this is going to hold the smoke very well as soon as I start adding the cherry to it. So we're going to go ahead and add the cherry to it and get some smoke on this bacon. Now all I have here is some chunks of cherry that come off of the farm. They're about the size of my fist. We've been letting them soak out here in the water for a couple of hours. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them over here in a cast iron skillet. And this is what I'm going to lay my blocks of wood in to get the smoke on my bacon. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I do kind of like to fill it up the best I can to get the most amount of smoke. Now this is pretty much all of the wood we're going to use for smoking this bacon. We're going to have a nice light wispy smoke. It's going to flavor this bacon just wonderfully. So, yeah, that looks like enough. So, we're going to put it right onto our low flame, and we'll check back on this in a little bit. Alright guys, so there are several different ways you can smoke your bacon. If you have a smokehouse or a way to cold smoke your bacon, you can smoke it over a course of a week or so, lighting the fires, letting it go out. That's not that big of a problem. If you have a charcoal smoker or a propane smoker or whatnot, you're probably going to have to hot smoke your bacon, and there's nothing wrong with that. It'll still turn out just fine. We like to keep our smoker somewhere in the 160 to 180 degree range. This is going to take several hours to get it up to temperature. We're shooting for about 148 degrees. You don't want to go much higher than that because you're going to render out all of your fat. So whenever you go to fry your bacon, you may actually have to add back a little bit of oil just to get your bacon to fry instead of stick. We don't want to do that. We like to make sure that there's just enough grease left in this bacon that we can fry it up nice and crisp. So we're going to let this go for a couple of hours, and I'll show you guys the product when we're done. Okay guys, so we're coming up on 5-hour mark of smoking this bacon. We've been smoking it low and slow with cherry wood from our farm, and we are 1 degree away from hitting our target temperature. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this off, and we're going to let it rest on the in the kitchen on the counter for a couple of hours. We want it to go ahead and cool off. We don't want to try to rush it and put it in the refrigerator. We're going to let it cool off naturally by itself, and then we're going to wrap it and we're going to put it in the refrigerator overnight. Tomorrow we're going to slice this up because we want the meat to firm up from being in the refrigerator overnight. That's going to make slicing the bacon a whole lot easier. It's going to make it a lot less messy because the fat is going to solidify again, and it's just going to make the process a lot cleaner altogether. So we're going to turn around here, we're going to go ahead and get this pulled off, and we're going to show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so we just hit our target temperature. We're going to go ahead and open this up. There's the money shot. Would you look at that? Cherry smoked, homemade buckboard bacon. It don't get any better than that. We're going to go ahead and get these pulled off. All right. Let me show you this bacon. Would you look at that? What do you guys think? £31 of pork shoulders, trimmed, deboned, cured, seasoned, and smoked right here on the homestead, guys. That's a work of art. Alright guys, so now that we got the bacon off of the smoker, we're going to take it inside, let it cool off. Might have to take a test sample of it. So that's how we make our bacon here on the farm. We'll bring you guys back after we get this all cooled down, and we'll start slicing it tomorrow. Alright guys, so we let the bacon sit in the refrigerator overnight. It cooled and chilled up just fine. Now we got our slicer out here. We're going to slice it all up and get it packaged and vacuum sealed in the freezer. If you do not have a slicer, you can do this with a regular sharp butcher knife. That's not a problem. It'll just take you a little bit longer to slice it up. Don't let that discourage you if you don't have all the equipment. I started off for years slicing all my bacon by hand. That's not that big of a deal. You'll get pretty consistent with it with a little bit of practice. Since we're doing so much of it today, having the slicer makes life so much easier. So I'm going to bring you guys in close and I'll show you us doing all this. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've already started slicing some of it. And if you'll look, we got some nice thick slabs of peppered bacon here. They got a real nice marble on it. You are going to want to try to cut with the grain or across the grain. It's going to make it a lot easier to chew. So I'm going to turn this on. It's going to be loud for a second, but we're going to get a couple slices going. So there you have it, guys. A couple slices of buckboard bacon, nice and thick layer of pepper on it, just the way we like it. So we're going to get all this sliced up, and we'll bring you guys back in a few minutes. There you have it, guys. There's the finished product, all sliced up, portioned out, 1 pound groups. Now this right here is our end bits in smaller pieces. This is going to get packaged up, and we'll be using these for seasoned beans and potatoes and various other dishes throughout the year. Nothing goes to waste. A couple end bits, I'm going to fry it for my breakfast here in just a few minutes. But if you guys remember, we started off with 31.5 pounds of pork shoulder, trimmed, deboned, seasoned, cured, and smoked. We ended up with about 24 pounds of finished product. Guys, you can't beat that for the price. Look at the marbling there. A lot leaner than the stuff you get from the store. Just enough fat content that it doesn't stick to the skillet. So, I appreciate you guys coming along for learning how to make this buckboard bacon. So I've had several people ask me for my buck bacon cure. Well, I like to use a mixture of salt, pink curing salt, and sugar for our bacon. The ratio that we mix up for our bulk bacon is 400 grams of coarse kosher salt, 200 grams of granulated sugar, and 60 grams of pink curing salt #1. We mix that up, we put it in a mason jar, and whenever we want to make bacon, we will weigh the meat in grams, and we'll take 2.5% of the total weight out of our bacon cure. And that's how we mix up our bacon cure, and we cure a piece of meat. Guys, it really is that simple. Okay, so until next time, get out there and get your bacon smoking, and I'll see you guys later.